Greetings once again. This is Dr. Bill Bailey, and this is VirtZine. VirtZine is the online magazine of virtualization and cloud computing. And I am really excited about this particular VirtZine. We have a very special edition. We're going to take the whole program to talk about one solution, but one that I think you're going to find really interesting because of what it is and how it works. And so we're going to get into that in just a few minutes. First of all, I'd like to say that we are proud members of the Tech Podcast Network, techpodcast.com. If it's tech, it's right here on the VirtZine Netcast. Also, we are proud members of the International Association of Internet Broadcasters, and we enjoy coming to you with information about virtualization and cloud computing here on VirtZine, and I trust you will find this really interesting. I know I sure did when doing the research for this particular netcast, so I trust you'll enjoy it. Also, we would like to remind you about our sponsor. Our sponsor this week is lynda.com, and let me put up a lower third banner here and encourage you to go to our website, which is drbill.tv. If you go to that website, now that's not the normal VirtZine website, that is our other program, the Dr. Bill Show as I call it, and but that website, if you'll go there, look down on the right hand column and click the Lynda banner, then you can sign up for 1 week of free courses that you can choose from a long list of courses that are available on lynda.com, and for 1 week you can take courses free. Now that's just an unprecedented offer, and I encourage you to take advantage of that 1 week free usage of the lynda.com site. You can learn about Photoshop, you can learn about video production, you can learn just about all kinds of different things. So I'd encourage you to check that out at our website. If you go to lynda.com directly, we won't get credit for it. So I appreciate it if you go through our website, drbill.tv, look for the banner, click on it, and that will give us credit for it, and I do appreciate that. All right, let's talk a little bit about this particular netcast and the topic of Userful. Now, it sounds like I'm mispronouncing useful, but that is the name of the organization of the company that makes this software, and also the name of the software, Userful. It's useful for users, it's userful, all right? So that's where they came up with the name of the software. And basically, the idea of this is a virtual desktop infrastructure methodology, VDI. So that would be similar to Citrix Zen Desktop. It would be similar to VMware View, but the difference for Userful is that it is designed for smaller businesses that don't have the infrastructure that would need to be built to support a typical VDI environment. So for a small business to have this kind of capability is amazing to me, and I think this is a niche that's going to be really, really strong. The whole idea is the Userful Multiplatform solution. It's the simplest, most flexible and affordable virtual desktop I believe you'll find because it is unique in the way it operates. Now, I found out about this through actually a viewer who is a regular viewer of the VirtZine Netcast who let his friend who works at Userful know about our program. And so they sent me an email and said, hey, we'd like for you to take a look at our software. I believe your users or viewers might be interested. And so I said, yeah, sure, I'd like to look at it. Well, he sent me several terminals and the Userful software. The only thing I needed to provide was a server machine, which in this case is just a PC, but it is a PC with 16 gig of memory, quad-core Intel processor, pretty powerful machine. It's 2.5 roughly gigahertz processor, quad-core processor, and then 16 gig of DDR3 memory. So, and of course it's got two 1 terabyte hard drives in it. So the software comes on a DVD. Put the DVD in the machine, booted. Of course it's going to wipe whatever's there, so I did a backup first. All right, and then I installed the software, which was just stepping through the installation. And it is based on the underlying operating system that you're installing is CentOS Linux. Well, of course, I'm very familiar with CentOS, and it was very easy to step through the installation and set it up. They had streamlined it a great deal in their installation, and they had a getting started, well, I guess you call it a handout, for lack of better. It's basically 8.5 by 11 pages, front and back, printed and stapled together. Got images of what you expect to see. You know, it's like what I like to call PhD instructions, point here, dummy. PhD. So, given that I have a PhD, I was able to handle it. No, it's real simple, real easy to install, and I just stepped through the instructions and got it up and running. Then I logged in to the server with the username and password that I had put in, and then I brought up the interface. And the interface can be viewed right there on the server desktop, or, and this is even better, you can access it from a website. And in the demo, I'll show you how that works with the website. But I want you to think about this. One PC, one dedicated PC, that you can still use as a regular PC. You know, put a layer on top of it and use it because you're running virtual sessions. It's running Oracle VirtualBox, which again is free software, that they have incorporated into Userful, and they have essentially written code that goes in and runs VirtualBox without you having to be exposed, let's put it that way, to VirtualBox. In other words, you don't have to go in there and manipulate it directly through the VirtualBox interface. Now you can if you want to, but using their interface, their one screen, you know, interface to get in there and do things works perfectly. So you don't have to be a virtualization guru to understand how to use this and to do this, okay? So I kind of like to get under the under the hood, you know, and see how things are working. So I tore into it and did a few things, but was fascinated at how simple it was for somebody that didn't have a virtualization background to get in there and use it. And you'll see that in the demonstration. So right now, let's go to a demo that I did earlier today. I actually set this up in my kitchen, of all places. There's a little built-in desk there in the kitchen, and my whole house is wired with enhanced Cat5. And so, and I have, of course, as you might expect in my house, I have a switch, high-speed switch. I have a fairly decent infrastructure here at the house, but this is really no different than a small business would have. Okay, so the next thing we're going to see here is in my kitchen, set up with the terminal, and we're going to be getting into a session provided through the Userful interface, and then we'll look at the Userful interface right after that. So let's go into it right now. All right, today we're going to be looking at the Userful Multiplatform desktop system, and what I have here is a standard monitor, keyboard, and mouse that are USB devices, and I've got them plugged into this terminal. Now you'll notice how small this terminal is. As a matter of fact, I'm going to unplug everything here to really be able to show you what this looks like. Notice how small this is. You can tell in comparison to my hand just what we're talking about here. Very, very small device. You'll notice that it has, let me see if I can come in a little tight here. It has an Ethernet connection, power input here, 2 USB ports, and a VGA port. It also has an HDMI jack here. This is a mini HDMI jack. They have an adapter that allows you to take it up to a full HDMI system to plug in an HDMI-based monitor. Then on the front you have headphones, microphone jack, and 2 more USB device inputs. Pretty impressive little terminal. It's maybe, I'd say about 5 inches by a little over 1 inch in height, and then, oh, maybe, depending on how you measure it, there's a little kind of a bracket here where you can run screws into a wall or whatever and mount it. But not counting that, I'd say about 3 inches in terms of the depth here. So as you can tell, tiny little device, very lightweight. I mean, we're talking practically nothing in terms of weight. Now let me go over here, back over here and hook it all back up. I'm going to plug in the Ethernet, the VGA connection, make sure I get that in. Only goes one way. All right. Then I'm going to go ahead and plug in USB keyboard and mouse, and finally the power. Now I'm going to turn on the monitor. The monitor gives off so much light that basically it will kind of overpower my lighting here. My lighting is not the best. I'm actually in my kitchen. So this is where I'm setting up. But you notice it says here, waiting for assigned host. I'm not sure you can see that clearly on the screen. But then it will come in here, connect to the Userful server. That's their logo for Userful there that's coming up. And then reconnect to the session that I have running on the server. And you notice it says restoring virtual machine because it's running off of a virtual session in VirtualBox. So now we're back into the screen, which I think you can see fairly well. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Google and bring Google up. I think you can probably see that. And we'll just type in Dr. Bill Bailey, if I could type. I'm trying to do too many things at once here. There we go. And we'll go to the drbillbailey.net website. And you can see we're talking really responsive. And if I start playing this video, you'll see that the video will play. There we go. I think you can see it. It's playing very well, very smoothly. No buffering, no jerky, no, I mean, it's running very fast, including things for videos. So, very impressive how this is working. I'm going to wait until I come on the screen here. You can see how well that's working. And then I'm just going to go ahead and go full screen so you can really see how smooth the video is. Very nice. Now I don't have a sound source plugged in, but there is sound available here on the terminal, and that works very well. I also want to apologize for all these wires. They're a bit out of control as far as the wires go, but I set this up and I was just really excited about you guys seeing this. This is really impressive to me. So let me get out of that. And then we'll go to our regular screen. As you can see, this is a Windows 7 session. And again, look at how fast this is. This is really impressive to me. And if we look at, matter of fact, let me do this. Let me go to Control Panel, System, and you can see this is showing up as a 2 gig 32-bit Windows 7 system running Windows 7 Enterprise. And if you look at the local disk properties, you'll see that it's 126 gig with free space of 116 gig. Very respectable system there. Now, the nice thing about this is a VirtualBox session running on the server that is the Userful server. And so now I want to take you to a session in the Userful server so you can see how all this is administrated. Alright, what you want to do is type in the address on your local network of your Userful server. In my case, it's 10.10.10.134. That takes us to the website, which I had previously logged into. That's why it didn't prompt me for a username or password. So it is password protected. Now you can see here that we have station mapping, which is the first page it goes to. Network stations. Now you'll notice I have one terminal that's out there that is turned on, and that shows up as session 2. Display management shows that on my terminal I have it set up for up to 1920 by 1080. Now you can go to broadcast alerts, and here you can type in anything that you want to send across your local area network to your users, which is pretty impressive. You can set up shared file storage here, as you can see, and that works very well to have a central location for users to have shared files. And then virtual machines, these are the VMs that we have set up in VirtualBox, which is the core of the system here. And we have Windows 7 and Windows 8.1. Now, if we go to System Operations, here you can set up your failover settings, your licensing, change your admin password, change your host name, reboot the system, shut down the system, basically get information about your system from here as well. You can check for updates of the software, install and uninstall third-party add-ons, and of course you also have help and support here where you can go in and get help from Userful if you want to. Now let's go back up to the network stations. Remember, we have one station and it is station 2. Station 1 is the main server session. So session 2, as you'll notice here, is set up as Windows 7. But now if we take station 2 and drag it down to the Windows 8 profile, and then we go down here and apply that to the terminal, now, just that quickly, I have changed that terminal to run Windows 8, in this case 8.1, instead of Windows 7. Okay, here we are back at the terminal that is set up, as I mentioned earlier, in my kitchen actually. And this terminal, as you can see now, is running Windows 8, actually 8.1 in this particular version. I ran the start menu and then now I'm into the regular interface. I have installed Classic Shell on here so I can actually use it like a real computer. Not that I'm prejudiced toward, you know, using regular Windows as opposed to Windows 8. But anyway, as you can see, this is a VM build for VirtualBox, Windows 8.1. And this is one of the test machines that was sent along with Userful, and it works very well. And you saw what I did, how I was able to just select a different interface, or I should say a different profile for the Windows terminal, and now here we are. Now I should mention, I said Windows terminal, it's running Windows as a client session. The terminal itself is a true thin client. And I did mention earlier, it is from a company called Thin Global. Thin Global is out of Brazil, and this is a true thin client, no separate operating system such as Windows that you have to boot into in order to then connect to the server. It's running basically some code in firmware that allows you to connect to the Userful server, which, as I mentioned, is a Linux server running CentOS Linux. So very interesting and very powerful tool here in the Userful multi-platform system that we're looking at. So I really give it a huge thumbs up and really think this is a great way to go. Okay, so you've seen the Windows 7 system delivered to the terminal. You've seen the interface, and you've seen that by making a small change in the interface there, going back to the same terminal, it's now a Windows 8 machine instead of a Windows 7 machine, at least in terms of the session that you're seeing. Now, you know, that borders on magical to see that work and to be able to do that. Now, where I see this being a tremendous benefit, as I mentioned earlier, is small businesses. Small businesses that don't have a large infrastructure but have a need to leverage terminals rather than PCs because they're so much less expensive. You can use these terminals with a standard VGA monitor, which you probably have several of. I know I had several here around the house. USB keyboard, USB mouse, probably have several of those. So those are at the least minor expenses, or probably you can reuse some of the equipment you already have. But these little terminals, I sent an email to the gentleman at Userful that I was corresponding with, and I asked him what would a setup like I'm demoing here cost. So basically, if you had 3 terminals and then you were using your own PC as I did, what are we talking about? He said, in terms of cost, a bundle of client device plus the software, the Userful software that it runs on, retails at $169 to $199, depending on the terminal and which one you go with. And then obviously there's the PC, the monitors, the keyboards, the mice, which are no different than what's required for any other deployment. And so for the overall deployment cost, it's higher per seat when 3 screens are connected to one computer than when 10 or 15 or 20 are connected, because of course the cost of the PC, aside from the extra RAM and maybe the processor upgrade, are constant. In other words, what he's saying is, in effect, the more users you can get out of that one PC, okay, so maybe you do have to configure a fairly powerful PC, maybe you do have to provide a memory upgrade or whatever. But once you do that, then you can get, let's say, 20 users running off that one PC. They can be running off of a gold image situation where the session would revert back to a standard build, and if they made any changes, they'd be gone. Or you can set up VirtualBox instances, one for each user, one for each terminal, and then any changes they made would be persistent across sessions. So you can go either way. Really impressive to have that kind of capability in an inexpensive tool like this. As he says here, $169 to $199 per terminal, which also includes the cost of the software. You can see this would be very affordable for a small business wanting to run a VDI infrastructure. So, I trust you found this demo interesting and maybe got your attention a bit on looking into this software. Now, their website, if you want to go there, is Userful, F-U-L, 1L, okay? Not 2 L's as in full, but Userful, like you take useful, put an R in it, userful.com, and I've got it there on the lower third of the screen. So, I give it, as I said, a big thumbs up in the demo, and I encourage you to look into it. I found it to be a fascinating tool for small businesses. So, that's it for this VirtZine Netcast. Remember, until next time, to keep your head in the cloud.